Well, hello again. Pastor Ray Barnett here. Welcome to God's Answers for Anxiety and Depression. I want to wish everybody who is watching a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. I know it's becoming trite and a bit hackneyed to say this, but another beautiful day. 72 degrees, very low humidity, sunshine as you can see, and I know I repeat myself on this one issue so much, but it's just so great that God has compensated us for these days we live in, at least from my point of view. And I know that you're watching from, some of you are watching from different states. It may not be so great where you're at weather-wise or otherwise, but here in upstate New York, the weather has been really, really great. It's become like fall, by the way. This is only August the 31st, right? Tomorrow's September the 1st, and already it feels like fall. Well, I don't know. And from my point of view, it's just one of the advantages of living in upstate New York. I'm happy where I'm at. And everybody else can move wherever they want. I'm happy here. Okay. Hey, just wanted to put a little addendum to Saturday's broadcast. As you know, I do a segment called Stories of My Life, where I tell a story and try to somehow relate it to our topic of anxiety, depression, mental health issues. And I posted on Facebook, as many of you already know, and then some of you just simply watch it on YouTube. But on Facebook, I have a lot of friends who I've known for a long, long time. And after mentioning the incident that I shared with you on Saturday about how I was in a fight as a young kid and received 150 stitches after I was cut up, one of the little kids, who was no longer a little kid, wrote to me. He had evidently listened to the story. Then I recalled, as he mentioned it, that we had talked about this once before on Facebook, this incident, and that he was one of the the kids at the time. Obviously he's no longer a kid, on the truck, who had grabbed that machete from the hands of the guy who ultimately cut me up. So I just thought that was kind of unique, just to be reminded of all the friends that I have out there. And I told him, his name is Brian, that he played a part in sparing my life, that I can be here with you on these broadcasts and hopefully be a help to you. As you can see behind me, we got people in canoes. That's I'm down at the Mohawk River here, and people are enjoying themselves weather-wise and otherwise. Thank God for that. Thank God for the small blessings. Now, it has occurred to me that some may tune into this broadcast, these lessons that I'm giving to you and sharing with you, and may not get the full impact. May not get the full impact of what I'm saying. And just to mention something else too, I have recently discovered that I'm only 50 yards from the railroad tracks. So you see me keep moving forward in my seat. That's what I'm doing, just taking a break so the train doesn't interrupt us again. Anyway, some people may not find these teachings to be as profound as they would like. Often with people that have nervous symptoms such as anxiety and depression are looking for these very complex answers, erudite explanations One of the reasons is that people who suffer from nervous symptoms often believe that it's something very complicated going on inside them, and then go from doctor to doctor to doctor, clinic to clinic, counselor to counselor, looking for a profoundness. However, I have shared with you that I have a lot of experience in this area, more than most, time-wise and even study-wise. And the advice, the lessons that I'm giving you, which had always helped me, and things that I've learned, may not on the surface seem so profound, especially like today's lesson, yet they have a profound impact, and they will have a profound impact on your condition. So, with that said, we want to be just simple people. It doesn't matter, once again, what your position is in life. We want to approach life with a type of simplicity that in reality, life is what runs life. The principles of God are really very simple. And therefore, a lot of the answers to anxiety and depression, and even some of the more difficult cases that some of you have, actually have very simple solutions, though I always divide between simple and easy. Simple does not mean easy, but simple. Let me just give you an illustration. I've used this before. You go to the emergency room and you're upset about what has happened to you, some type of minor tragedy. Of course, it could be a major tragedy. And you're very excited about that. Your blood pressure's up, your pulse is up, and your mind is racing, and maybe you're either bordering on or starting to get hysterical. You ever notice that one of the first things that nurses, PAs, doctors, and go right down the line, they'll always be saying, okay, take some deep breaths, calm down, it's going to be okay, or whatever. And, well, that doesn't seem so profound. I need something, people say, I need something more than that. If that was the case, then why is it a universal bit of advice given to almost anybody? I mean, you could be, laying out at the place where the accident happened, let's say, you had an accident. And that's the same advice that people around you are going to give you. When 911 comes, the ambulance comes, they're going to say the same thing. Come on, just calm down. Because it's a universal principle. All right, so you're kind of catching the idea? The idea of somebody exhorting you to calm down. And I've had some serious injuries in my life. Maybe one of the stories of my life that I'll tell you down the road is the time I dragged a moving lawnmower over my body, and grateful to God that it wasn't worse than it was. But let's just say, for example, so I can keep with the illustration, let's say I was prone to hysteria, because believe me, it was painful, and I'm already dramatizing in my mind that my toes are gone, which thank God they weren't. They were broke up pretty bad and bleeding and all that, but they weren't gone. They were still there. But what if I'm imagining my toes are gone, which, by the way, was the first thing that I thought. That if I look at I had sneakers on, and I don't do that anymore. If I said if there's a slice in my sneaker, that's it. My toes are gone. And there wasn't, but they were pretty smashed up. They were really smashed up. So I, again, knew enough of the principles of what I'm teaching you to just stay calm. Pain was tremendous. But to stay calm, make a phone call, get myself down to the hospital. I believe I called my wife. Yep, called my wife. She came home from church office and drove me down. And I had to go into the OR for that as well. But in between, I wasn't in hysteria. I didn't let my imagination start running away from me, asking someone 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, check my toes, check my, that type of thing. But you see, some people are prone to that, and people with nervous conditions are especially prone to that type of behavior. We know, from watching my lessons, these things make matters worse. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about today may not seem so profound, but believe me, it will have a very positive effect on your nervous system, and ultimately, let's say make a dent into your nervous symptoms. And if practiced enough, like every day, every time it comes to your mind, it's going to go a long way in calming, well, let me say strengthening your nervous system. I mean, how do you strengthen the nervous system? You can take vitamins. You can take B complex vitamins, obviously a multivitamin. You can take supplements. And again, this is what people do. They go to the health food store, they're getting all kinds of stuff. They can't sleep, they got supplements for that. Or they go to their doctor, like a pill for everything. And nervous symptoms, people with nervous symptoms have a habit of looking for one of two things: a pep talk or a pill. But there's got to come a period of time, if you're going to be free from nervous symptoms, anxiety, depression, mental health, that you become more sovereign. And that's what the average person is. They're sovereign. They're more sovereign. Whereas people with nervous symptoms have a tendency, not always, but they have a tendency to be much more dependent. So you're in a panic, let's say a panic attack, and you have the urge to start calling everybody. We've been through this before, and you do. And every time you repeat that story, the tension increases, pressure on the nervous system increases, symptoms increase. You have a vicious cycle going on, and many of you know what I'm talking about. You've had them. You've had these symptoms. So what I want to talk to you about is purposely slowing down. Right? Not so profound, huh? You think what I was going to say was so deep, you're going to write this big, ponderous volume of psychology, of applied psychology, and I'm not sure I could fill a chapter, well, maybe a chapter. I know I couldn't fill an entire book just on the subject of slow down. But for you who have nervous symptoms, this is critical. And it really is. I mean, I guess all these lessons are important. Critical, maybe too strong a word. Important, very important. Because people with nervous conditions, anxiety and so forth, you don't realize that you're always in a rush. You eat too fast. Everything you do is too fast. Everything. And in that, all right, we understand, or you understand now, the brain-body connection. We have talked about that. I will continue to talk about that, remind you of it. But this is what's involved here. It's the brain-body, body-brain connection. And what we're trying to do is just, slow down in everything. All right, if you're late for work, you got to rush a little bit. Late for something important, well, okay, those are the exceptions. But believe it or not, one of the ways that I've picked up on this is just by observing myself. And by the way, I've learned a lot over the years that I'm giving to you now by observing myself. There are universal symptoms and universal causes So I would, for years and years, for most of my adult life, I would observe myself, my behavior. And this is one of them. Realize that I was in a hurry almost all the time. Now, another thing about observing yourself is then you start to see it in other people. And they don't know. Why they're uptight, why they snap at everything, Bob. There they go. It's because they're uptight. Why are they uptight? Everything is being done in haste. Everything is done with too much speed. Sometimes it's a matter of, as the saying goes, biting off more than you can chew. Right? Old saying, but it has meaning for us. And so we want to have smaller segments. And then we all, doable things. The less is more type of attitude. And be able to just slow down. Sometimes it just gets down to just clipping off things that are not necessarily, I used the word now earlier, but now this is a good application of the word critical. When you draft goals for your life, which most of you probably don't, when I counsel anybody on anything, I always have them make goals. Because without that, they don't even know what they're aiming for. They say, well, I just want to be well. I said, well, how are you going to get there? They don't know. You see, it's very vague. But when you draft goals, you put up as an A, mark them A, B, C, and D, goals. Critical goals are things that must be done. Well, you must bathe and eat, and so we don't write them down, but we could. And then there's other things. Your relationship with God through Jesus Christ is critical. It's not important, it's critical. All right, so that's way up at the top. That's always got to come first. Next one down is things that are important, but not critical. Like breathing is critical, right? No need to have to explain that. Exactly what you eat for your diet may or may not, depending on if you have a sickness or something or some condition, may or may not be critical. If you're diabetic, not eating sugar is a critical thing for you, whereas for somebody else it's simply good or important. All right, so you see that goals will have varying degrees of importance. And if we can just begin to concentrate on what is critical in life and what is important in life, and not just what is a good thing to do, I wish I could do it, I hope I can do it, and then you kind of shorten your to-do list on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes slowing down is just that simple. But there are other times, and this is something I think I shared with you once, and oddly enough, I had one of my associate pastors years ago, he picked up on it. I didn't know anybody could pick up on it. I found that the day was starting to get ahead of me. I found that the day was starting to control me rather than me control the day. So we were actually going out to lunch, that much I remember. And when I'm finding myself in a hurry, I do what I've told you to do. I command my muscles to slow down. Sometimes I get into my car. Usually it's when I'm going over to the church and I'm rushing. And now I'm starting to feel tense. It's going to affect my singing. It's going to affect whether I'm playing the drums or the guitar. It's going to affect my performance when we're doing music. It's going to affect my preaching because I'm tense. And everything should be done with a relaxed attitude. And what I'll do is I will sit in my car and look at the clock on the radio, or I'll just look at my watch and I'll wait 5 minutes. If I'm really tense, 10 minutes. Just sit in my car before I do anything, because if we don't get a hold of it, then it all just starts getting away, and then it gets worse during the day. Then you become irritable and snappy and snapping at people, or you're just talking to yourself out loud and kicking things. And why? It's tension. This is such a, fundamental principle of nervous symptoms, tension. tension in the body. But you're not going to realize it unless you begin to slow down. Do less if you can. Sometimes your to-do list is this big and that's what you're stuck with. All right? Let's look at it that way. There's this much to do and there's no way you can truncate it. You can't shorten it. So you have to now slow it down. Slow it down. What I've learned to do as I've gotten older, I will always give myself, if I'm on a time schedule, I give myself extra space in there. So in other words, let's say it's 9 o'clock and I've got a job to do, which I'm figuring is going to take me about half an hour, 40 minutes. Then I give myself a full hour. That means I got 20 minutes to spare. That means I can slow down a little bit and do it a little bit slower, a little more carefully, because my tendency in life is to just be trying to cram in as much as I can in a day, in a shorter period of time. So what I didn't finish the story, and I want to. What I did in this one day is we were going out to lunch, and I found myself getting tense as I started walking slowly. Now, not only did he pick up on the fact that I was walking slow, but he picked up on the fact of why I was walking slow. Well, I thought it was a great insight. I really did. And I was sharing this principle with him, and he says, yeah, I know. I said, how did you know? I said, well, I noticed the way you were walking when we left the church, when we left the building. And I was really taken back that perception was there, which was good. It's good. I don't walk too fast to begin with. But if I'm feeling myself tense, and this is one suggestion, I just purposely, it's an act of the will, make myself walk slowly or slower. Same with eating. Now it's kind of a standing joke. In my youth, when I was younger, I was always the first one to finish, could stick big pieces of food in my mouth. And I've always loved to eat, and I still do. But now what's funny is that most everybody at the dinner table is finished before me. And one of the reasons is that I'm making a concerted effort. I'm making a, excuse me, I'll be right back. Would you believe it? Another interruption. Now, speaking about slowing down, if you see right behind me is a yacht. And I'm telling you the truth. You're going to think that I'm lying and setting you up for these things. 33 years I've been coming down the river here and spending time usually just reading or something like that. I have never, not even once, ever heard the captain of a ship, in this case the owner of the ship, talking over this loudspeaker to the barge, which is just about to pass me by now too. And this, it's incredible. This builds up patience in me. In fact, this barge is so close to me, it may actually run me over. How did we get so fortunate to have so many interruptions on this show? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. All I could say is that what I'm communicating to you today is slow your life down. In your walking, in your eating, even reading, brushing your teeth. Try to make a concerted, conscious effort to slow down everything you do. Now, when you do that, your body will be more relaxed, takes pressure off the nervous system, and then you're gonna actually feel more comfort in your body, just because the muscles are now more relaxed, nervous system has less pressure, and as the saying goes, life is good. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm talking about today with you is simply slowing down, and your speech as well. Everything, anything you could think of, just like a drummer. Take the tempo down just a little bit. It's a little bit too fast, maybe a lot too fast. Slow it down to a doable where your body is relaxed, Nervous system is get pressure taken off of it, and you're going to find it goes a long way. I want to say this one more time. This particular teaching may not seem to be so profound, but trust me, if you practice it, you're going to find it has a profound effect on your nervous symptoms. Let me pray for you. Father God, in Jesus' mighty name, I pray for my friends that today they would have peace and serenity, freedom from the oppression, freedom from the symptoms, and help them, God, to practice these things that I'm sharing with them in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so as I say each day, we're picking up subscribers nearly every day, certainly every week, which is good. This is a slow growth, which I prefer than some type of phenomenon that hit the YouTube, which certainly I'm not. Because then it gets very difficult to handle people when they're trying to write comments and thank yous or ask questions. So if you're interested in sticking with me with these lessons, just subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the notification button. I noticed a lot of YouTube subscribers ask for a thumbs up. I never heard someone ask for a thumbs down, but I'm a bit indifferent to that. If you would like to give a thumbs up, that's fine. But if you'd like to leave a comment, by the way, that's great too. And I always remind you, if you have a question on this topic, this will actually help me to address your specific concern. And I would like to do that. So you can ask a question and put it in the comments below. All right? God willing, and the creek don't rise. Not this creek. This is a river. The tribe of Native Americans named the creeks. The creek don't rise. I'll be with you here again tomorrow, and hope that you have a great day or evening in Jesus' mighty name. See you again here tomorrow.